Welcome to today's video, guys. Thanks so much for joining us. This is the Battle for a Healthy Voice. I'm Sunny Galt. This is David Moyer, our vocal coach. And today we are continuing our series on how to sing. And David, today we're talking about vibrato versus tremolo.
Yeah.
So before we get into that, though, I want to tell you guys about a course that David and I created for Pure Bel Canto. If you haven't heard of that, if you don't know what Pure Bel Canto is, that's okay. That's what our whole course is about, to educate you on what it is, the history behind it, because we believe this is the best way to sing and speak if you want to preserve your voice. Most singers today, David, speakers, are not using it.
They don't use it.
They're
no.
damaging their voice. They're having multiple surgeries. We don't want that to happen to you guys, okay? So check out the course, purebelcanto.com, and let us know what you think. Okay, David, in exploring how to sing, I think most people have heard of vibrato. They may not have heard of tremolo. What is it?
Well, most people sing with tremolo today because tremolo is the manifestation of a heavily compressed vocal apparatus. Okay. So you take your vocal bands and you keep tightening them, and pretty soon that kind of undulation or dance that I talk about between the diaphragm and the internal throat muscles, and in this case, if you're excessively compressing, external as well, that begins to kind of struggle to make it happen. So what it does is, instead of it being more of an undulation of just almost non-perceptible pitch deviation, okay, then it becomes actually a pitch deviation of extreme pitch deviation, maybe a half step, maybe a whole step. An example would be, just listen carefully to recent Liza Minnelli videos and recent, even back 10 years or 20 years. Listen to it. That's a perfect example of tremolo. Also, quite honestly, recent Bette Midler, and you'll hear the difference. So vibrato, if you use Pure Bel Canto, vibrato is the natural manifestation of a correctly produced sound. Now, as you know, and if you don't know, I have damaged my voice. I've had 3 surgeries. If you listen to my voice in my lower range, you'll hear that my vibrato is quite slow because I've stretched my bands. They've been surgically corrected, and now they're damaged. So the lining is no longer pure, like a brand new razor blade.
Right.
So it kind of catches.
Okay.
And so when I do it, it's slow, like this. No, it's not too bad today. Not too bad in that range. But if I go up into the broken part, not only will it sound scratchy and almost non-existent in terms of pitch, but you'll hear the tremolo.
Now that sounds really slow.
I'm trying to do it.
Okay.
But that's my voice broken. If I go above it into my 5th and 6th gear, it's almost right. You can hear it pitch deviate, but it's pretty fast. There wouldn't be that much pitch deviation in a band that's naturally tense because it hasn't been stretched like a rubber band. Have you ever taken a big rubber band and go kaboing, 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 and then you keep stretching and it goes kaboing, 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 kaboing.
Yeah.
Finally you stretch it and it goes Well, that's what happens to the vocal muscle.
Okay.
It stretches out and finally just hangs. And when you try to bring it up, it'll come up, but it'll go like, the sun will come out,
That drives me crazy when artists do that. It's like I think it's tremolo. Tremolo.
They can't do it any other way.
Yeah, well, it happens like right when they open their mouth. It's not even at the end of a note.
Nope.
When you mentioned Liza Minnelli, I was like, yes, that is the perfect example. She gets made fun of all the time for it, quite frankly. Any impersonator, that's the first thing that they do is, make their voice do that. Yeah.
Sure. And another one is Anthony Newley. The roar of the grease paint, grease paint and the roar of the crowd. There's a musical he does.
Oh, okay.
And if you listen to him sing, and I think it's What Kind of Fool Am I, you'll hear that as well.
Okay.
It's present in there. But it's present in many rock singers. And
okay. Yeah, it's so if they're forcing it, then
you compress so much that you get an extreme pitch deviation.
Okay, and that's tremolo.
That's tremolo.
So with vibrato, all of that should happen naturally.
Yeah, and it should be much faster, and it should have very little fluctuation in pitch. There is a tiny bit of flux deviation, a pitch deviation. That's why I showed this in the last video. You can turn this on and turn it to voice. Don't turn it to fine pitch, because very few people have fine pitch. But just turn it to medium, voice medium.
And what app is that again?
What happens is, it's called TE Tuner.
Okay.
I've been using it for as long as it's been out. But what it does is, if you hold a note like this, ah,
yeah, I'm still seeing A sharp that whole time.
the whole time.
Yeah.
Because that's really vibrato.
Okay.
But watch this.
Yeah, okay. I totally see the difference. Interesting. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And are we, when we use tremolo, when we force it.
When we force tremolo
it.
is the result or the consequence of a badly produced sound.
Okay, and so when we force that sound, are we also hurting our vocal cords by forcing that?
Well, when the bands are young, they can take a lot of beating.
Yeah.
But after a season, and usually if you use heavy compression, it's between, if you did Screamo, and you've heard of Screamo, they usually have about a 2 to maximum 5-year run, even with surgical procedures.
Okay.
But typically a rock singer might get 5 to 7 years before they have to have surgical. But it's not, there's no true time frame on it, but it seems to be that. And a pop singer, depending on how well they sing, like Neil Sedaka, still singing pretty well at 86. So yes, you do damage the bands over a long period of time. Continued approach in that manner will simply damage the bands, and quite honestly, in my case, beyond reparation.
Now, have you ever heard a singer that didn't have any vibrato or
yes, there's
tremolo?
what's called straight tone.
Okay.
And in the era of the Letterman, I knew Tony Butala. I used to sing, our group used to open for Tony of the Letterman. And Tony's group used straight tone. Now, what I try to teach people that like that sound is he actually used a pure bel canto sound that then he made straight. So the least amount of vocal compression was used to produce the sound. Listen to Summer Place with the Letterman or Shangri-La. Just listen to them and you'll hear really some pretty nice singing, straight tone. Okay. On the other hand, barbershoppers use straight tone, but they use a lot of kind of squeezed, tight compression like that. Like, my wild Irish roads.
So
Because I used to direct compression of a different sort. Instead of the open mouth, they open, but there's a very funny way they do it. I was a director of Barbershop for a couple of years.
That is interesting because I'm thinking about the barbershop quartets and stuff that I've seen in the past, and you're right, there is no vibrato in there. They keep it pretty straight.
And quite honestly, do they have value? Of course. People love their singing.
Yeah.
Listen to the Music Man.
Sure.
When the Buffalo Bills sang Light a Rose, I'm Home Again Rose. They were really good with their straight tone, their compression. But would it have been better if they had known bel canto, pure bel canto, the kind that it used to be when it was pure, when it was called bel canto, I mean, yes, it would have been better.
Okay.
And probably, even in their 90s, they would have still been singing.
And that's what we don't know because we don't see that. We just see this, short little snippet of their life or, something.
And then it just goes away.
Exactly. Well, guys, we don't want you to be harming your voice. That's why we do these videos.
That's right.
Be sure to check out our website, purebelcanto.com. Learn more about this singing style and speaking style that David and I have been talking about and a little bit of the history behind it so you can determine if it's a good fit for you.
Okay, and one quick interjection, and I'll always say it. Tito Schipa and Cesar Valletti watch his 1949 colorized version of Una furtiva lagrima. Don't think opera. Just watch his mouth size, watch his face shape, and listen to the beauty of the sound. Yes, you have to have a different mindset. You have to kind of forget what we've learned to listen to.
Yeah, because we've been taught wrong. We've been taught wrong, and we've got to clear all of that out.
You got to clear it out.
All right. Thanks, David. See you guys in the next video.
Bye-bye.